Technology of today is a relic of tomorrow, but new technologies such as AGI come once in decades. No wonder Sam Altman and OpenAI have garnered worldwide attention. And today, the Times Network had the opportunity to chat exclusively with the maker of ChatGPT. Mr. Altman acknowledged that every tech revolution leads to changes. He spoke about the job market, the existential threat from AI development, India's role, and so much more. Now, we're going to be playing out excerpts for you of that interview. Programming reminder, you can watch that whole interview at 9:30. But what we're going to discuss today is the message from Sam Altman's statements. Very, very crucial, because this is someone who is at the fountainhead of the AI revolution. It's coming. There's no doubt about that. The question is, what's the impact? Now, the number one query has always been, what will AI do to jobs? What will human beings do if all their jobs are replaced? And is that going to happen? That question was posed to Sam Altman. Take a look at what he said.
Yes, every technological revolution leads to job change, and this will be no exception. I guess three thoughts. Number one, job change itself is fine. If you kind of look at the history of this, in 2 generations, we can kind of adapt to any amount of labor market change. And there's new jobs, and the new jobs are usually better. And that's going to happen here too. Some jobs will go away. There will be new, better jobs. They're difficult to imagine as we sit here and dream about what the future is going to look like. The thing that might be different about this is the speed with which it could happen. And I think it will require a change to the socioeconomic contract and the way governments think about this if it happens at a very fast pace. The second thing is it's not going the way people predicted so far, and I don't think it will in the future. So the current systems are actually not very good at all at doing whole jobs. They're very good at doing tasks. And so the nature of the job, if you're, say, a computer programmer, to stick with that example, shifts to you kind of like manage a team of extremely, extremely junior developers that can only do one minute task at a time. And then someday they'll do 10-minute tasks, and then they'll do an hour task. But you'll still have to think of like, how is this all going to fit together? What do I want to build? And maybe eventually it learns that too. But this idea that instead of replacing jobs, it's making people dramatically more efficient, and there is such a demand overhang in most places. If we can overnight make the world create 3x more software because we make every software developer 3 times more efficient, that is not nearly enough. That does not nearly fulfill the demand the world has for software, and I think we'll see that in many other places. So another example of this is that the consensus, not the consensus, the absolute belief of experts around the world 10 years ago. First, AI is going to come replace the physical labor jobs. So truck drivers, farmers, factory workers, real trouble. Then it'll come for the sort of easier kinds of cognitive labor. Then maybe eventually like computer programmers, even a mathematician. And then, way in the future, or maybe never, because maybe it's like magical and human, the creative jobs. And of course we can look now and say it appears like it's going exactly the other direction. But that was like really non-obvious, certainly to us. We started thinking we were going to build robots. And it's still, in some deep sense to me, seems like it should be much easier to make robots than it is to make GPT-4. But here we are. I think with other job impacts, it's just going to be surprising. But I think the world will get way wealthier. We'll have a productivity boom, and we will find a lot of new things to do.
And Jaideep Keval Ramani, Head of Employability Business and COO of TeamLease EdTech, with me on the show today. I'm speaking with K. Yatish Rajavat, founder of Center for Innovation in Public Policy, and Manish Maheshwari, co-founder of Fanery and ex-CEO of Twitter India, with me on the show. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us as we're still reeling from the Altman impact and effect. Great to hear him speaking about the future of AI and something we're all talking about. Jaideep, I'm going to come to you because the jobs question is the big one. He talks about a productivity surge. My question is, in absolute numbers, will you not need lesser people to do the same tasks? And that is jobs loss.
Amana, first of all, thank you so much for having me over. The answer to your question is yes. In terms of absolute number, We will need fewer people for the same jobs. But what Sam also alluded to is something very important for us to know. I mean, it'll improve the velocity of the business and the productivity and the efficiency. And he brought in an angle of wealth creation. I think what we need to know is that all digital jobs will be at risk. Upskilling, reskilling, and ensuring that employability is the key is going to be important. So there will be a huge wave within the organizations to realign the talent to the new roles or the enhanced roles, or what we may want to call as AI augmented human roles. So there is going to be a little bit of a churn in the short term. Organizations will have to figure out what jobs can be done by AI, but more importantly, AI augmented humans. So the short answer and the long answer is yes, there will be some turmoil that in the days to come.
Turmoil in the days to come. It is inevitable in a sense. Yatish Rajawat, maybe we shouldn't fight it beyond a point. Every innovation has seen some change. Everyone is going to have to adapt, and AI is going to become perhaps one of those basic skill sets.
Yeah, I mean, it's a given. I just came from a conference for a small workshop actually at Google. And, just to put Sam Altman's on ChatGPT and what he said into context, you see, what Sam created was basically a derivative of generative AI. And it's basically a large language model, which, gives you a perfect sentence, which you assume is written by a human. But that's just a small sliver of it. And the job change part of it is not just on people who write or who have to compose or who words or, advertisers or copywriters and so on and so forth. The large part of generative is affecting not just text, but it's affecting video, it's affecting images, it's affecting anything that's created by a combination of any of these three areas. And that's a very large segment. And ChatGPT is just a small sliver of that particular product offering. It's an open source solution at the end of the day, though he's charging people for using the enterprise version of it. But the issue is that there are, so many other generative AIs that are in the pipeline from Microsoft, from Google, and from everybody else that are taking away jobs right when we, right now that we are talking about it. I know at least, 5 different companies in the content marketing space which have actually shut down their and let their employees go and changed their employees by adding a solution which is basically a generative AI for words and for posts and social media management. So and Sam said one more thing which is very important. He said that the velocity of change, I think Keval Ramani also mentioned that, but you see the velocity of change is so high that we will not be able to adapt the change in these jobs. So there will be people who will be left out of the job market. There will be people who will need support.
He does say that. He does say that. And yes, policy makers will have to come in with the question of support. I want Manish Maheshwari to weigh in on this because there is a cost that is going to come to this technology. And there's one example that Yatish gave in the content marketing space. One would turn around and ask that, were these people really pulling their weight in the first place if a fairly nascent software has replaced the need for them so quickly? What is going to be your value add is the big question, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've been in the content space, right? So clearly one big change that will happen is that, things will get far more efficient and there would be a lot of adjustment in the labor force and the expectation. But to my mind, this is more about the short-term to medium-term problem. And I think whenever new technology comes in, there is a realignment in the need, and accordingly the workforce changes. The bigger issue I see right now, which I think not many people are talking, is what impact it would have on the shaping of narrative and the reality as we perceive it, right? If you think about media, and I've been in social media, people do perceive reality based on what they read and sort of how they consume content. And if there is a force that can produce a lot of content at a very large scale, and it can also imagine things and also generate things which may not have happened, it will impact our perception of what is reality. And also it can start shaping narrative in a way that can be very different. Secondly, the AI is perfectly capable of also manipulation, because if you give them a goal and you don't put the guardrails, it will go and do things that will solve for that goal, and that would also mean manipulation. So that's also another problem that we will start seeing without the guardrails. And of course, the ultimate question to ask is that, will humans continue to retain the management and control? Because if you give the option to the AI to generate sub-goals to achieve a goal given by human being, very quickly to realize that one of the sub-goal can be to have more control or more influence. And if they start working towards that, that could be the one where I think we have to be concerned about as to how that will manifest, right? So I think there are bigger issues. My mind, job losses is something more here and now. I think we will get over it. I think the industry will realign, labor force will realign. But I think it raises much bigger questions about ethics, about truthfulness, about narrative building, about our perception of what is reality, and also about the fact that, should humans be in control and always be in control? Or can someone who is more intelligent should take control of whatever it's getting done? So I think those are the bigger issues I think we have to think about as well.
Answer that Sam Altman gave to the question of doctored videos specifically was the trust that, and he called it antibodies, would be built into the system, where you would soon perhaps have software to track if something has been altered, much like you can figure out with Photoshop beyond a point, and people will know not to trust everything they see on video. He talked about some sort of a cryptic signature that people will have if they put out a video that is legitimate, and interesting stuff there. But I want to just play out one bite and clip of what he said on the curve of growth we're going to see in the development of this technology. He talks about looking just at GPT-4 being a mistake, because that's going to change very, very soon. Listen in.
The main point that I would like to get across is none of the current systems really matter. Like, we're going to look back at GPT-4 and, I don't know if any of you have picked up the original iPhone in recent years, but it's like, wow, I cannot believe we were excited about this. Each pixel's like that big. It just feels like this incredibly antiquated thing. The curve here is going to be much, much steeper. And what the systems are going to be capable of in the not distant future, we think, is going to be very dramatically different. So this is like a system that I don't even know what this is like the old first grayscale Nokia phone that looked like a little candy bar. And the iPhone 14 is coming. So what I would say is, it's a mistake to get too focused on the current systems, their limitations, their capabilities, the impact they're having. The thing that matters here is we are on an exponential curve, truly. Two big miracles, I think, in the field. Number one, we have an algorithm that can genuinely, truly, no tricks, learn. And number two, it gets predictably better with scale. And that, we're going to look back, I think, on those two realizations as a turning point in human history when you put them together. But what it means is that the rate of progress in the coming years, the capabilities are going to be significant. So it's totally cool that ChatGPT can write that poem. When a future system can cure all disease, or help us address climate change, or radically improve education, or make us all 10 or 100 times more productive at what we do, that's quite impactful.
So I'm going to come back to Manish on that. We don't even know what the trajectory of this is going to look like. He's compared GPT-4 to the original Chota Nokia phone compared to what we have right now. And is that the scary part? That what are you going to plan for if you don't know what's coming?
Yeah, I think the pace at which things are improving is it's extremely fast, right? I mean, I was told that earlier last year, ChatGPT had the understanding of a 7-year-old, and I think in a few months, it had an understanding of 9-year-old, and I think that learning is progressing at a very fast pace. And also from my own experience, right? I mean, if you look at social media, we were using machine learning and AI tools for content curation, right? I mean, essentially to figure out what to show to someone to get their engagement and to retain them on the platform. And that is one part of AI, but I think the AI today is far different, because now we have generative AI, where you can say that you can also create content. And once you open that floodgates, clearly not only you will create new content, you will learn from who is engaging with them, and you can have a feedback loop to create even better content. And I think if that can work in an infinite loop endlessly, imagine the possibility and the pace at which you will learn and how better you can become. And that is only one example in content creation. And that the same example can happen in, say, he talked about education, he talked about medicine, he talked about climate change, understanding about diseases. So imagine that if someone can learn infinitely fast and can continue doing that, I think the outcome is going to be mind blowing. I think it's
so
very
are you
difficult
one of
to
those
comprehend.
people, Manish, who would have been perhaps a signatory to those letters which say that this could threaten human civilization, this could lead us to extinction? Because that's something Sam Altman is saying, that put up some guardrails or this could be disastrous. Are you on that school of thought?
See, we do need to get our handle on how it learns and how fast it becomes better and better, right? I mean, clearly, as the creator of AI, humans should probably have the prerogative in terms of designing it, right? The moment you lose that design and sort of that control, then basically you don't know where it would land, right? It's like creating a weapon, and then of course you don't know how to control that weapon, right? So clearly you need guardrails. The problem today is that we created AI as the first instance, and then AI is creating next AI where we have no control, because then they are improving endlessly, right? And the problem here is that, yes, we give them the goal and they execute on the goal, but we also give them the ability to create sub goals, right? And I think if we give them the ability to create sub goals, they can very easily create sub goals which can be detrimental to us in service of achieving the goal we have given them. And the moment that happens, the whole system goes out of control. Because think mathematically, right? I mean, if the sub goal is something which is not appropriate for human beings, clearly we have asked them to do something which will be detrimental to us. And I think, how do you get a handle on that? I mean, and I think people haven't given me a good answer to that, and have been asking that as to, okay, what's your understanding? Everyone's trying to figure it out, right? I mean, anyone who says they know it, I think they are bluffing. I think even Sam would not know it, as far as I can say. Everyone's trying to figure out, because what they have created is the first version, and I think the next versions are sort of improving at a very, very fast pace. And they are improving on their own as we are using them, and they're getting more data, more content, more information. So none of us, and no one here, clearly understands how that is happening now.
Let me talk a bit about guardrails, and allow me to play out one more Sam Altman bite before I come to that question, because it sets the context nicely. So he was asked about guardrails. What does he want, in terms of some sort of security, and can this really be done? Let's listen in to what he said.
We started the company because we were nervous about AGI risk before people even talked about AGI. And now I think part of the reason we deploy systems is so that people confront the technology, feel it, understand the risks, the benefits, and now a lot of other people are also very excited but sharing the concern. I think this is a special moment where the globe can come together and kind of get this right, and we certainly would like to try to do that. India has been a country that has really, truly embraced ChatGPT in a way. Maybe you can tell me why. I'm sort of curious. I'm hoping to learn while I'm here. We're very delighted, but there has been a lot of early adoption and real enthusiasm from the users. One of the very earliest things, like in the first weeks of launching ChatGPT, we heard about a farmer in India who wasn't able to access government services, and via like ChatGPT hooked up to WhatsApp in some sort of complicated way was then able to. And that was like one of the early things where we're like, we did not think that was going to happen.
All right. Let me come to you, Yatish, on what these guardrails are. I know India is working on its own plan. The ministry is working on its own plan, and we are not going to, shun ChatGPT or the software. We want to figure out that we can do it the right way. So India is going to be a very important part of the puzzle, and that's what Sam Altman was also talking about. But what is this guardrail? What does it mean? Does it mean government comes and keeps checking what companies are creating? What does it look like in real life?
So, the debate on the guardrails is quite detailed in that sense. There are two schools of thought, and one school of thought is basically that you need to create a International Atomic Energy Agency, which is a body under UN kind of body. And, Sam here also referred to it. He says IEA is the right model for an organization that can basically take safety into account, look at the technology and control the technology, and ensure that the technology is used for public good and not used for public harm. So that's one school of thought which says that there's a UN body needs to be created, and it could be the IAE itself. The second school of thought is that each country needs to create its own regulatory structure, which not only controls public data, because these models are basically built on public data, and nobody has taken permission for building this data. For instance, even ChatGPT has taken your and mine data from the internet, and it has built itself. Now, it is not taking permission from us. So therefore, a model has been created in a particular region that is, again, affecting the rest of the world. And therefore, each country needs to have some form of data sovereignty in the world of AI. This is the second way of creating a guardrail. So a guardrail around data, a guardrail also around the kind of output it generates. Manish mentioned one of the this thing that if it generates a deep fake video and we believe these videos on social media, what impact those videos can have, especially in an election year. Can they create disruption of any sort? So where should the guardrail exist? Should the guardrail exist at the social media level, at the or at the AI engine level, or where? So that debate is still, as you can say, in an undefined area at the moment. The other areas are basically, subset, and they're more in terms of responsible AI, that, it should not have any kind of bias, whether it is racial or it is any form, gender, or any form of bias. And this is the responsible AI is a term which is being more used by enterprises which are selling AI to, or AI-based solutions people. And this again is a policy matter for corporates. The fifth area is basically how should companies themselves, adopt, accept, or engage with AI.
Right.
And that is a point that we had discussed in the past. What policy should companies follow? Should they let people let go of their jobs, because an AI engine has now been deployed?
All right. Manish wants to come in. Manish just raised his hand. He wants to come in on it. Yes, Manish.
Yatish's point, to add to that, see, governments will do what they need to do, and I think that will be, Yatish nicely laid it out. But at a company level, I'll give you a specific example of what we are doing, right? So I run Fenori, I'm the co-founder there, and it's a content monetization platform. So clearly, one thing we are also realizing is that content creators will increasingly use AI to generate content. And we need to then think about what kind of guardrails we put there. So one is, of course, we need to build capabilities to figure out what is an original content versus what is the AI generated. Second is that we cannot completely shun AI content because clearly it gives productivity and other benefits. So we have to allow it, but then you have to make disclosure, right? And we have to make disclosure in a way that not only the creator has to make disclosure and make it public, also when we are monetizing through anyone, everyone should know that they are monetizing on an AI-driven content. So I think each company and each industry and each sector would also have to lay out an AI policy saying what is their view on AI. Clearly, none of us can stay ignorant or completely not use it. We have to use it because there's a reality and it's a technology that will be beneficial to many people. But we have to then define what is permissible use, what is not a permissible use. Second is who should be made aware and how they should be made aware. And ultimately, how should we treat it in terms of one of the tools of production and revenue generation, right? So I think those are the areas where every company has to think. And we have been some early thinker on that. I mean, clearly, because we come from social media background and content background, and we really know that this is the one industry that AI is disrupting the very first, right? I mean, for example, even Sam mentioned that the belief was that it will go after the blue collar work first, but it is coming and going after the creative work very first. I think all the content creators, content writers, video makers, all these creative arts are the ones that are being disrupted, and that too at a very fast pace, because the click of a button.
I don't know how good the quality is of AI, but yeah, mediocre work will be challenged very, very quickly. Jaideep, I want
Very
you to...
quickly, right?
Yeah.
But think about it, Tamanna. It is happening today, but imagine what will happen in a year from now.
Absolutely.
Even as it starts learning even better,
Absolutely.
even like you have to be top notch in your game to survive.
I mean, I don't even want to say it, but you know, there are AI anchors out there. So let's not even start that conversation.
Yes.
Jaideep, I want, a last word from you on the guardrails point of view, because it's become everyone's favorite term. What does it mean? What do you think it will mean?
Sure. So yes, we do need guardrails, and given that the Moore's law is now transformed into a new Moore's law when it comes to ChatGPT, do we need a United Nations of AI? Yes, we do need that. Do we need organizations to include policies? We do need that. But one of the things that we are missing out on how to actually solve this, again, I don't have the answer, but here's a theoretical framework on how we will solve this. AI, in essence, carries intelligence. And if human intelligence at some point can carry two sets of logic, one is a definitive logic on what's right and what's wrong, and a fuzzy logic, which we know as ethics and a moral compass of what's right and what's wrong, the same logic sets can be infused into artificial intelligence and grow that. Like I said, this is a theoretical framework right now, but I'm sure it can be manifested as we are working into the range of emotions of AI. These guardrails around what's right and what's wrong should carry a definite signature, and any AI tool that you're using should be certified against these built-in guardrails and give cautionary input to the users or the organizations that are bringing that in. So, I mean, it's very, very interesting times ahead, and we will have to blend in a lot of human intelligence into AI to make it safe for everyone.
We've created the artificial intelligence, and that should be something we remember. Maybe, this will be one of those pivotal moments in human history, and we are witnessing it right now. Who knows where the story will go? That's what makes it exciting. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us this evening. We're taking a very short break, but viewers, please don't go anywhere, because the actual full interview with Sam Altman is coming up on the other side.